Most people think taking a night shift or a weird side hustle is just easy money. But if you've ever felt like someone or something is watching you from the dark, you know the terrifying truth. Welcome to the channel, I'm Creepy Nick. Today I'm sharing 3 terrifying night shift horror stories sent to me by my viewers. To put you right in the middle of the nightmare, I'll be narrating them from their perspective. You might survive the first 2, but the rules in the 3rd story, they almost cost our final viewer his life. Imagine sitting in a dead quiet room at 2 a.m., miles from help. Your eyes start playing tricks on you in the deep shadows, and every sudden creak of the floorboards makes your heart hammer against your ribs. If you think your late-night gig is just a boring grind, wait until you hear what was waiting for me in the dirt and rusted metal of an isolated car junkyard. Picture yourself totally broke, driving down a dirt road full of potholes to take a night watchman job at an isolated, rusted-out car junkyard. You're desperate, so when the owner, a giant of a man with a deep pink scar slashed across his neck, offers you double the normal pay in cash without even asking for a resume, you don't ask questions. He just hands you a chunky ring of keys and a crumpled piece of yellow paper. He looks you dead in the eye and tells you to follow the 3 rules written on that paper if you want to stay safe. Rule number 1, never open the main gates after 0 a.m. It does not matter who asks or who is crying outside. Rule number 2, if the red landline phone on your desk rings, pick it up, but do not say a single word, just listen. Rule number 3, if the motion sensor lights for Sector 4 go dark, lock your booth door immediately. And whatever you do, do not look out the window. I brushed it off. I figured he was just a paranoid old guy hiding stolen car parts and wanted me to stay quiet. For the first 2 nights, it was just me, instant coffee, and the wind howling against mountains of crushed metal. But on the 3rd night, at exactly 1:45 a.m., the dead silence shattered. That red landline phone started screaming with a sharp, mechanical ring that hurt my ears. My heart slammed against my ribs as I stared at the plastic receiver. Remembering the 2nd rule, I grabbed the phone, pressed it hard against my ear, and clamped my mouth shut. Through the static, I heard it. Heavy, wet breathing, right up against the microphone, then a sickening, wet crunch. It sounded exactly like thick meat and bone snapping under a brutal boot. My hands were slick with sweat as the crunching stopped, replaced by the slow, agonizing scrape of something massive being dragged across a concrete floor. Scrape, scrape, then a loud click. The line went dead. I was still wiping cold sweat off my hands when a dark sedan suddenly tore up to the main gates, tires squealing in the dirt. A young woman threw herself against the iron mesh, screaming hysterically that men were chasing her and begging me to open the gate and save her life. Imagine your instinct right there. You want to slam your hand on the green button and be the hero. But Rule 1 echoed in my head. Never open the main gates after 2 a.m., no matter who asks. I grabbed my heavy binoculars and looked past the crying girl into the darkness. Standing dead still in the shadows was a massive man in dirty overalls, gripping a thick metal crowbar. He wasn't chasing her, trying to hurt her. He was just waiting like a statue for me to hit that button. I slowly backed away without touching the controls. The second I did, the trap was exposed. The woman's panic completely vanished. She stopped crying, calmly walked back to the man with the crowbar, and they both slowly looked directly through the fence at my booth. Click. The floodlights over Sector 4 instantly died, plunging the massive junkyard into absolute pitch darkness. I lunged for the solid metal door and violently twisted the deadbolt shut, breathing hard. But I forgot the final warning of the third rule. Do not look out the window. Heavy boots started crunching on the loose gravel outside, walking with awful, steady purpose straight toward my booth. The metal door handle jerked down violently, lifting and slamming with incredible force, but my deadbolt held. You'd think you were safe inside that locked room. You'd be wrong. The thick glass window directly in front of my face exploded. A massive hand wearing a thick leather glove shot through the jagged frame and instantly crushed my windpipe so I couldn't even scream. With terrifying strength, the arm dragged me right through the broken glass and slammed me hard onto the freezing dirt outside. Gasping for air with a crushed throat, I looked up. The giant in the overalls pinned my chest to the ground with his thudding work boot. He leaned down, his voice impossibly quiet and rough. "You looked out the window for too long." He raised the massive metal crowbar high into the dark sky. The last thing I felt was the crushing strike of solid metal, completely shattering my knees before everything went entirely black. But if you think shattered legs and a near-death beating are the worst things you can get from a bizarre side hustle, your nightmare is just beginning. If you think surviving that junkyard was pure luck, the next story will make your blood run cold. This viewer thought house-sitting for a wealthy plastic surgeon would be easy money, but his dream job quickly turned into a nightmare. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you're ever house-sitting a secluded mansion and you find an unmarked black freezer in the garage, do not open it. Imagine getting 6 months of pay handed to you just to watch a huge mansion deep in the forest. You'd take it in a heartbeat, right? But when the homeowner is a famous plastic surgeon who leaves you with 3 bizarre typed rules, your dream job turns into a nightmare. Rule 1. Feed his big black Doberman only raw meat from a black chest freezer in the cold garage. Rule 2. Never go down the stairs to the basement. Rule 3. Every night at exactly midnight, lock the master bedroom door from the outside, even though the house is empty. The first week passed perfectly, but on Tuesday afternoon of the second week, everything unraveled. I went into the dark, oil-smelling garage to feed the dog. I opened the loudly humming black chest freezer and pulled out a bulky plastic bag. It had no factory labels or dates, just thick, clear plastic tied in a tight knot. I sliced the knot open with my pocket knife. The meat inside wasn't dark red beef or pink pork. It was pale and light yellow. I pulled out a heavy chunk and held it under the bright fluorescent light. My stomach violently turned. One side was raw muscle, but the other side was covered in completely smooth skin with absolutely no hair. Then, I looked closer and stopped breathing. Trapped under the top layer of that pale skin was blue and black ink. It was a tattoo shaped like the top half of a beautiful colored butterfly. You know that absolute primal terror that screams at you to run? I felt it in my bones. I dropped the human flesh back into the bag, my hands shaking so violently I could barely lock the thick freezer lid. I didn't care about the money anymore. I grabbed my small bag, ready to sprint down the dirt road to the highway and never look back. But as I rushed toward the entryway to escape, a furious, aggressive bark echoed through the house. The massive Doberman, who had been dead silent all week, was suddenly standing in the lower hall, teeth bared, aggressively blocking my only way out. I was completely trapped. I had no choice but to slowly back away and retreat to the dark living room. I sat on the couch in pitch black, my bag at my feet, terrified, just waiting for a chance to bolt. Then, the red numbers on the digital clock flashed 11:55 p.m. I looked at the red numbers flashing 11:55 p.m. Even though my instincts screamed at me to run, I decided to follow the third rule one last time before escaping, just to make sure whatever was upstairs stayed locked away for my own safety. My legs felt like lead as I walked up those dark wooden stairs. At exactly midnight, I slid the heavy brass key into the metal keyhole and turned it right. Click. But the very second the lock engaged, a slow, deliberate scratching echoed from the other side of the solid wood. The heavy metal door handle slowly pushed down. Someone was standing inside the locked room, trying to get out. I threw myself backward against the hallway wall, my heart hammering in my chest. Downstairs, the massive Doberman erupted into a furious, aggressive bark. He wasn't barking at the front entrance. He was violently snapping at the heavy door leading to the basement. I froze at the top step, watching the basement door slowly push open. A freezing draft carrying the sharp, sickening stench of old copper and medical rubbing alcohol hit my face. A massive man stepped out from the dark stairs, wearing a green surgical suit covered in fresh, dark red stains and old brown smears. It wasn't the famous surgeon. It was a complete stranger, holding a long, gleaming silver scalpel. I sprinted down the stairs as fast as my legs could move, desperate to reach the heavy front door. But my shoe caught the thick edge of the hallway rug. I fell hard onto the solid wooden floor, the air blasting from my lungs. You'd think the dog would protect the house, right? Instead of attacking the strange man, the Doberman turned and lunged straight at me. He bit down hard on my right ankle, his jaws locking into my flesh with a blinding, agonizing death grip that dragged me flat against the floorboards. The man in the stained suit didn't run. He walked calmly toward me, his heavy black boots thudding loudly on the wood. He raised his boot and stepped down with all his weight, completely crushing my free left hand against the floor. Squatting down next to my face, reeking of bleach and raw meat, he pressed the cold, sharp flat of the blade directly against my cheek. He leaned in very close to my ear and whispered, "The doctor asked me to prepare the material for his return." Surviving a deranged doctor's butcher is one thing, but our final story proves that greed can be the deadliest trap of all. When a mysterious app pays you triple your salary in Bitcoin to deliver a locked, smoking aluminum case into the middle of nowhere, you don't just walk away. If you ever hear a hissing sound coming from the passenger seat of your car in the dead of night, you're already dead. Let me tell you how this viewer's final delivery nearly put him in a body bag. Imagine drowning in debt to dangerous people, and you get an anonymous message offering a massive Bitcoin payout for a simple midnight drive. You'd take it, wouldn't you? But the instructions, which auto-delete after 10 seconds, come with 3 terrifying rules. 1. Never stop the car until you reach the destination, no matter what. 2. Never look at the receiver's face. And 3. If the lock case ever starts hissing, throw it out the window immediately and drive for your life. The first 2 drops are easy money, but greed makes you stupid. For my third job, the app offered triple the payout to pick up a freezing massive aluminum case from an abandoned train yard. I tossed it on the passenger seat, locked the doors, and hit the desolate country highway. My heater was busted, so I was shivering in the pitch black, white-knuckling the steering wheel through thick, scraping fog. The case sat there in dead silence. Around 3:00 a.m., glowing red lights pierced the fog. The entire road was blocked by a wall of orange construction cones, and a massive black Ghost SUV with absolutely no license plates parked sideways across the lanes. No workers, no police. My stomach dropped into a painful knot. Rule 1: do not stop. I slammed the gas pedal straight to the floorboard and violently jerked the wheel toward the dirt shoulder. Suddenly, 2 men wearing black balaclavas leaped out from the shadows. One leveled a long black shotgun directly at my windshield. A deafening explosion shattered the night. Hot metal ripped through my left side mirror and completely blew out the rear passenger window, showering the back seat in jagged glass. Adrenaline flooded my veins as I smashed through the plastic cones, tires screaming on the asphalt, tearing into the darkness, with the Ghost SUV violently peeling out right behind me. I finally lost the SUV in the darkness after taking a series of sharp, desperate turns on the winding country roads. I slowed down just enough to catch my breath, the freezing wind whipping violently through the blown-out back window. But the relief didn't last. A quiet, rhythmic hissing started coming from the passenger seat. I looked down and saw a thick stream of white smoke pouring out from under the aluminum lid. Rule 3: if you hear hissing, throw the case out the window. I grabbed the heavy handle and yanked it with all my strength to toss it outside, but it didn't budge. I looked closer in the dark. A massive steel cable was wrapped around the handle and locked directly to the metal frame of the car seat. My employer planned this perfectly, making sure I could never get rid of the case. I was trapped with it. The smoke rapidly filled the small cabin, smelling violently of bitter almonds. I slammed on the brakes in the middle of the empty road and ripped at the door handle to escape. Nothing happened. The shotgun blast had completely destroyed the electronic wiring in the doors, permanently deadlocking me inside. Imagine the sheer panic of suffocating in a locked metal box. You realize your only way out is the shattered back window. I coughed violently, my lungs feeling like they were on fire, and desperately tried to pull myself over the center console to crawl through the jagged glass in the back. But the toxic almond smoke was too fast. Within 5 seconds, my leg muscles went completely dead. Total paralysis hit my body. My arms gave out and I collapsed heavily forward onto the steering wheel. The car horn blared loudly and continuously into the dead, quiet night. I couldn't move. I couldn't lift my head. Through my rapidly fading blurry vision, I looked out the cracked side window. Headlights pierced the white smoke. The exact same black Ghost SUV slowly pulled up and parked completely silent, right next to my trapped car. Which of these 3 terrifying night shifts would you have survived? The junkyard, the surgeon's mansion, or the ghost car delivery? Let me know your escape plan in the comments below. If you want more true horror stories that will make you rethink ever working alone again, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Until next time, stay in the light.